There is no magic bullet. There is no, this is the way it should be done. It just doesn't work that way.
Hi.
Hey, stranger.
Hi.
The little syllabus that we're going to work through is on the back over there. Because to be honest, I can talk to 10 different teams, and every team has a different way that they built their team. There is no real correct way to do it. And one of the first questions that we always get asked is, when should I start building my team? When do I know I'm ready? I always say the first day you got your real estate license. To be honest, this is the truth. You're a business now. Once you get your license, you're in business to do real estate, and you're here to build a business. If you're just doing from transaction to transaction, you have a job. But really what you have is you are your own business to build and grow. So the first day you got your real estate license is the day you should be thinking about doing your first hire. And typically the first person you're going to be hiring is assistant. Your assistant. Now let's talk about roles. Let's talk about roles in real estate and really who does what. When you're a realtor, let me find one of my magic markers here. What roles do you play as a realtor? Name a role.
Buyer's agent.
Buyer's agent. Thank you. This is participation. Buyer's agent. Next one.
Listing agent, negotiator.
Transaction coordinator.
Listing. Let's do transaction.
Marketing.
Marketing. What else?
Janitor.
Janitor. Runner.
Yeah.
Runner. You name it. You've got all types of different roles. To be honest, I took a course first part of this year, and the course instructor says he defined 8 specific roles. There's 8 specific roles for a realtor. Basically, these are some of them. There's buyer's agent, there's buyer's coordinator, listing agent, listing coordinator. He named them all down to runner. You're also a runner because you're running checks, you're running contracts. You know, you do a lot in this business. In 24 hours, you've got to get all this done. And that's the reason I put up there. Every day, 24 hours, there's 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds. Now, if you're working, you feel like you're working all that time. But we know that in our world, you can only work 8 to 10 hours, maybe 12 a day. Depends how busy you are. But in truth, you've got to get everything down to a time frame. The hardest thing that we have is knowing the roles that you have. You have to figure out what you're good at and work towards that. One of the main things I always tell people is the first time when you get in your business, define your goals. Your 1 year, your 2 year, your 3 year, your 5 year, your 10-year goals. One of the things that I was going to do when I started this class is there is a video on Main Street that anybody can watch. It's a video on Main Street. There's a guy that spoke at the RE/MAX convention. His name is Chris Spicher, S-P-E-I-C-H-E-R. He has a team. Him and his wife have a team. In 2010, he got into real estate. His wife has been doing real estate for 20 years. In 2010, they did 6 transactions. This year, they're going to do 300 transactions. And now they have 20 people working for them in 5 years. And basically, he said he came from a corporate background. And what he did is they set their goals down. They said, we want to do this, this, and this. And in 8 years, I want to be sitting in a beach, drinking a Corona, and have my business doing whatever it's doing, and me doing my own thing. And I don't want to worry about it. That was their goal, and that's what they set out to do. And he said, to do it, this is what we've got to do. And so he got specific partners that he got together with. I'm talking about Zillow. I'm talking about people to get leads. Boomtown, I discussed with you the other day, which is a CRM system that his whole team, he can coordinate his whole team with. And what he does is he basically runs a team. He goes, I hate people. You know, I worked for Microsoft for years. I worked for, I forgot who else he worked with. He said, I hate people. I don't want to deal with the mundane issues of, hey, a water heater's broken, there's an inspection report, or somebody's looking at a home. I don't want to worry about those mundane things. My job is to build our business. My wife, she's a listing coordinator. She handles all the listings, all the negotiations, and we all have our specific roles. But I set my goals down, and this is what I want to do, and this is how we're going to get here. And like I said, on this year, they're on track to do 300 transactions. That's their goal. And so to do that, he hires. Now, also to do that, he went to Zillow and said, I want every zip code that I can get. Every zip code that I can get. He goes, when that first bill came on my credit card, and yeah, it was hard to swallow that first time. He said, but it's worked out. I work it, and it works for us, and that's what they do. Now, you ask Wayne, for example. Wayne has his little minions who are all running around doing their little things.
Do you want that?
And he has his own way of doing things. He does a lot through Realtor.com. He's done Trulia, he's done Zillow, and he's big on lead generations. And that's the thing, when you become a team leader, it is all about becoming a rainmaker. You have to do the dollar productive activities every day. Every day you have to know, when I get up from 8 to 9, I'm doing this, from 9 to 10, I'm doing this, and you have to time block. You specifically have to become more of a manager of yourself than you are really of your business, because if you don't manage yourself in your time, your business is going to run crazy. I mean, that's just long and short of it. Every morning I have my routine that I do to run this company and this business. I have to get up every morning. I go through all my emails by 7 or 8 o'clock. I go through all my websites that we're looking at as far as who's getting leads, who's checking in, who's doing what, and I'm online because I want to know, and I have my routine of what I do. Have your routine and let people know this is what your routine is going to be, but you have to time block. Make a blueprint. Once you know where you're headed, mapping the path can be more intuitive. This includes determining startup requirements and how to structure your team and best practices. Now, when we talked about roles, some of the roles here, we talked about marketing, transaction coordinator, runner. Some of the roles can be combined. Okay, you can combine roles. It's however you want to structure your unit. But the main thing is, especially, know what you're good at. And hopefully, as a team leader, you're good at listings. Because if you're good with buyers, you're going to spend a lot of time not being able to run your team. Because if you do a listing and you're handling the listing side of it, you have much more time to be able to run your team. Buyers can take 4 or 5 hours at a time to go out showing homes. You can be gone all day and not be able to answer your phone. We had Vicki Appleby, great example. Love Vicki. Does a lot of transactions. Vicki has an issue on a closing coming up. The buyer's agent is calling me going, I can't get a hold of Vicki. So I'm hunting Vicki down, going, call me ASAP because I've got this guy calling me. And so if you're out showing homes, you're not answering your phone, you're not running your business. Yeah, it's a dollar productive activity, but at the same time, delegate. Okay? One of the hardest things team leaders have a hard time doing is what?
Letting go.
Letting go. They are control freaks. Love Hannah Giglin. She is a control freak to the 10th degree. I say most team leaders are very type A. She is type A emotional to the plus. I mean, that's just the way Hannah is, and she'll tell you that. But they're very type A structured. They're very business-minded, structured people. David Kraft. Very type A. Very emotional type A. David does what he does, and he is very structured in what he does. A lot of people ask me, how does David do as much business as he does? David has a set routine. He is Brian Buffini and he has and knows what he does. He writes his postcards out every day. He has his routine, but he starts showing homes. But David's a control freak. David is a control freak. And that's the hardest problem that he has is letting go. Because if you don't let go, what people have a tendency to feel is, I'm going to lose income. I'm going to lose this portion. Well, you have to lose a little to gain some. Because one of the issues that we have is we go back to this time thing that we have. On the time issue, if you are not out prospecting for your next client, then you're losing time. One of the things that David Scott tells us, did you go to the David Scott thing? David Scott says, no one guarantees you 80 years in life. No one guarantees that you're going to be here tomorrow. No one guarantees that you've got 60 years. And so time is the most unknown thing that we have. Money is a commodity of time and your priorities. If you are not prioritizing your time, you're losing it. Okay? Anybody have any questions on anything? Y'all are just so lively today. So anyway, play to your strengths. Team leaders are typically strong-minded, entrepreneurial, with control issues. Focus your time on what you're good at and concentrate on the dollar productive activities of your business. That's your marketing. That's your listing activities. That's not necessarily closings, even though that's where your dollars come to. But if you're not prospecting every day, if you're not marketing every day, then you're losing money. Okay? Define your processes. Map out your workflow and leave nothing to chance. For example, specify a plan for how leads should be nurtured during those critical first 10 days to make sure the best use of everyone's time and ensure everyone's working efficiency. Chris Spiker says, we respond in 2 minutes to a lead. We have a call center. We have 3 people that we work our leads through. If a call is not returned in 2 minutes, then I'll find somebody who will return that call in 2 minutes. I'll replace them. He said, because that's what we do. We are efficient. We are calling the first day they call. The second day they turn it over to their lender partner. Their lender partner's calling and emailing. And for 10 days, and at the end of the 10-day cycle, he does something that's fantastic. He goes, did I do something wrong? We'll email him something and say, did I do something wrong? Is there a reason why you're not responding to me? And he gets them basically to say, oh no, I got your emails. And so he goes, oh, okay, great. And that's how he reels them in. And he goes, that last 10th day, he goes, typically we get 60 to 75% return on that email. So he has a nice little trick that he does. But like I said, he is, they're very type A individuals. So know your strength though. Know what you're good at. Know what you can nurture other people too. Hire proven talent. People can learn about real estate. When I mean proven talent, it doesn't mean that somebody has to be a realtor or been a realtor for a few years or somebody that you want to hire. When I mean hire proven talent, if you see somebody who's a salesman, see somebody who has the ability to talk to people, that is typically a talented person. Okay? What isn't so easy is learning how to be a good salesperson and how to provide good service. Look for people with great social skills who are trustworthy and share your vision for your team. If you know somebody who wants to be a team member, for example, and I've got a couple of people who are looking for team members. The issue sometimes is finding the right fit. Part of the issue is people want to be team members because they want the leads, but they don't want to stay on the team. They just want a short-term solution. That's not really a team member. That's a part-time employee that's going to be gone.
That's a rookie.
That's typically, yeah. And so if it's not somebody who shares your vision, who can guarantee that I want to grow with your team, I want the team to grow together and act as one, then they don't belong with you. So it has to be somebody that fits your vision and fits the way that you see your team growing. If you can sit down with an individual and say, I want you to do these roles here's your plan of action. Here's what you do, your systems that I already have put in place for you, and here's how you're going to be successful. And if you're successful, then we're all successful. We continue to grow. This year, you'll make $60,000 if you do what I tell you to do. Next year, you'll make $90,000 if you do what I tell you to do. So we can grow together. And so it's just making sure that everybody is on the same page. And that's the hardest part about buyer's agents. Because when you get a buyer's agent, typically there's not a lot of realtors who can, we talk about control freaks. Buyer's agents have a hard time giving up control too. They want to see their name on that transaction. And sometimes that's not the best thing. That's not the best thing for the team. If the team's going to have, say, quote unquote, 300 transactions, everything needs to go to that team. And the team is being built that way because that's what they recognize as the team name, not the individuality of that name. Questions? No?
Okay.
All right. Equip, inspire, and advise. Promote a positive attitude as well as coaching team members to determine whether they're reaching goals and how you can help. Whenever a team member walks in the door, they come in with the right mindset. I've had a team member, every time she walked in the door, everything was negative. Every time. Loved her to death. Everything was negative. Doesn't fit. Doesn't work. You can't be negative. You can't have negative people. Either they're with you and they're positive or not. I will tell you one thing about Wayne. He is great at teaching. He is great at teaching his team members. Every week he has a class that he gets people together and goes over different systems, goes over all their listings, and he's really good at it. And he's really built a good little machine that he's got there. His minions follow his lead, and they're doing well. Can you give me insight on Wayne and what he's got going on?
And you went to the exact point when he is always positive. If you guys have met Wayne, he's always happy, he's always excited. But you're not exactly right on he's a good teacher. I would say Stephanie's a good teacher. Like Stephanie, I learned from, and I absorb stuff. Wayne, you learn from him just because he's so positive, and you never take anything negative away from something. But
Sure.
anyways, he's very successful at what he does because he never meets a stranger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's got great social skills,
Yeah.
you know, and he can laugh at himself, and he does that well, and it works for him. And so, you know, he does a really good job though, getting you guys together and really
Oh, sure.
going over things. And
Just keep it consistent.
And the one thing he's done too is he's done well getting his partners together. You know, whether it be John Hardiman or Chicago Title or whoever he's working with, he's done a good job of getting those people together. And so you really have to make sure you work with your partners to grow your business. All right, measure your success. Keep detailed records and mine data for insights on where and how to grow. Crunching the numbers and looking for hidden insights can help gauge the effectiveness of marketing platforms, the performance of team members, and progress towards goals. Know team member conversion rates for buyers and sellers and set goals for each. This is not only important for you to have your goals, but for every team member to have their goal and know what they're working towards. If you want them to close 20 transactions this year, put down every month how many they're supposed to do in January through December. Same way with you. If you want to close 100 transactions for your team, each team member has to do their part to get to those 100 transactions. So have those goals set down. Also know your conversion rates. If it takes 40 leads to convert to one contract, know it. Know where those leads, if you're getting, the reason I came up with the term 40 to 1, that's where Zillow leads, we're talking about with Chris Pfeiffer. He said it takes them 40 leads to get one contract. He said they typically have about a 20% conversion rate on talking to them, and then another 20% conversion rate on actually meeting with them, setting up the appointment, and then one contract out of those 40 leads. And that they burn. I mean, that's what I call burning leads. They just burn through them. But that's what they do. Now, I'll tell you, he is probably spending $25,000 to $30,000 a month. That's a lot of money. He's got a $3 million GCI.
Just gonna give up on Zillow.
Zillow really is a difficult thing if you're not responding right away. Like I said, the numbers, he said, and we'll talk about mining data. He goes, I went through all the data, and he goes, I've gone through every site, I've gone through everybody who does this. And he goes, the standard norm in the industry is 5 to 10 minutes to respond. He goes, we do it in 2. He goes, because we found that once you go past 5 or 10 minutes, that drops right off.
Yeah.
He goes, if we don't respond right away, we lose the lead. They're already on to somebody else, and somebody else has it.
And also to that too, Zillow, that's pretty standard for Zillow, 40 to 1 lead. So if you don't have the money.
Yeah.
And you get 15 leads that month from Zillow,
Yep.
then you don't even have that 40 yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the thing too you gotta look at is how much do you have to spend to get those 40 leads to get that one
Yeah.
buyer every month?
Well, the thing with team leaders is you gotta be a rainmaker. Sam Ferrari, I love Sam. Sam down in Pearland, and he does many different things. He says all day long, I'm sitting at my computer, just getting leads. That's all I do, and I send the lead off. He goes, I'm just really a rainmaker. He goes, I'll make $900,000 this year just sitting at my computer. And if you ever see Sam was a little guy about this tall. He's about 65 years old right now, and he's got a squeaky little voice. You would not think he'd be a good realtor, but he's just, and he'll tell you a dirty joke. Love Sam. Anyway, know the performance of team members. Know who's doing the conversions and who's not. If they are not converting, then have a come to Jesus meeting, find out where the problem is, and then teach, advise, help, educate. That's really what you can do is know I've got team members who have problem converting. I don't know if it's follow through. I don't know if it's priorities, but it's one of those things to where they'll be replaced. I've got a business to run too. If they're not converting on the leads, they'll be replaced. Focus and adapt in order to grow. Leaders need to spend the majority of their time on recruiting, rewarding, and recognizing talent. And that's another good thing Wayne does. I love that he
Started, Jeff,
Yeah.
that was last month.
Well, he takes y'all out to lunch, and he does some good things too. Brings you breakfast, brings me breakfast.
Yes.
You need to live by the Darwinian quote. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. The internet and its importance to today's buyers and sellers is a great example. If you're not able to embrace these changes and work with today's technology and the new economy, you're going to be a dinosaur. And that is absolutely true. There are some really good realtors out there, really good, but they do not adapt and they do not change to our internet age. They still make good money. That's the life that they want to lead. And one of the things that I always tell agents is this business can be as big as you want it to be or as little as you want it to be. I sit down with agents every year at the end of the year and talk about how was this year? How'd your year go? What do you want to do next year? I had an agent sit down with me last year and she said, yeah, I made almost $100,000. I'm happy. I don't need to do anything else. No, I'm good. Well, okay, if that's what you want to do. Then I've got others, everyone else, who'll sit down with me and go, I did $250,000. I want to do $500,000. Okay, if that's what you want to do. You got to set a plan in place to do it. But the biggest thing about growing and team building is consistency. And it's the same thing with real estate. Whatever you do, just be consistent at it. Whatever type of marketing that you do, be consistent because that's what people expect. So any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have 2.
Good.
All right. So I'm pretty much referrals because I've done real estate 15 years.
Sure.
So if someone calls me and I have a buyer's agent, but they want me, what do you, like, do you have your buyer's agent show them all the property and then I take over the negotiations? Like, if people want me, how do how do you work that? with
You know, it's
your
one of those
team?
things to where you have to be comfortable. If it's somebody like a past client, you'll say, you know what, I appreciate, you wanted to work with us again. I've hired a great individual on my team that follows my lead, and you may want to hand them off that way. But, just saying call them, I typically like to call my buyer's agents team members. I don't like to call them their team members. And so I have either a team member or a business partner that I hand off buyers to now, because that's what really is what they specialize in a lot more than I do. They know the market with buyers a little bit better than I do too, and have the time to be able to help you. And so you may want to go that route with it as kind of a polite handoff.
Wouldn't you also be handling our listing? Because most of them would have a home to sell, right, as well? So you would handle, you could just explain it that way.
Like, I do the listings now and my
Mhm.
partner handles
Right.
the buyers. Okay, because I wondered how that, if they want me specifically, or if my friends, you know.
Yeah, if it's a past client who especially needs to sell, say, you know what, I handle listings now because typically the sellers are the ones who pay our salaries. So I need to work for you in this side of it. And then my team member handles your buying side because that's what they specialize in a little bit more to do.
And that's, we struggle with that too, but that's part of the let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You hire team members that you trust and can take care of them. And then you just have to,
Yeah.
you have, and there are still some that me or Tina have to show because they just won't work with the buyer's agent. But 90% of them, we push down to the buyer's agents.
The only
We
one,
have the listings
Yeah.
or whatever.
the only ones that I hand to my buyer's agents, the only ones that I handle myself, rephrase that, are either somebody that's related to me or somebody that I've known for years and years and years and years and years. And, I just have a personal relationship with. But besides that, everybody goes to a buyer's agent because I don't want to say you can't cherry pick. It's not good to cherry pick because it doesn't look good for the other team members if you cherry pick clients sometimes.
Okay.
And you can always put a positive spin on it and just be like, because I've had such amazing clients like you that refer me business. I don't have time to work with you on the buy side. I want to do everything I can for you on the sell side. And they're going to take care of you. And I want to build another business basically that way.
And I think what we found is, other than the 10% that just want to work with us, the other ones, they didn't even take a class about it.
No, they don't.
It's just, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have Cindy or Patsy contact you. Oh, okay.
They think of you more as a professional now. And I'll be honest, when you become a team, you're really looked at in a more professional light, I believe, because you have your own business that you're running. And so they know that you're a pro. If you're a pro, then apparently you've got pros working for you.
Okay. Okay, my other question was, how do you pay? How does that start? Like, how are people, because what if I don't have business for 2 months to give buyer's agents? Or do you pay them salary,
No.
hourly, do you pay, how do you pay?
I will say every team, again, this is one of those things you ask 10 teams and you'll get 10 different answers.
Okay, give me all the answers. I mean,
Yeah.
how do people pay?
Typically, if it is let's say it's somebody that you're going to have to hold their hand, a new agent who you think has got talent, it's something you may want to do a 50-50 split up to, say, their first 10 transactions. And then at that point, maybe move it to a 65-35 split. You do it to a tiered type system. Or if it's somebody, I do all of mine on one split. I just do every transaction on a 65-35 split. With everything that they do, whether it's their listing, my listing, it's 65-35 split.
They get 65, you get 35?
Because if I start going, well, this person is somebody who it's a past referral of mine, so I want 50%. If I start doing back and forth, because that's what some people do, then it starts getting too convoluted. And so I just do all mine on one split system, and it's just easier that way, and it just works itself out in the end.
So your buyer's agent knows if you have a bad month, they're not gonna get paid,
It's this is a commission business,
right?
so they're going to have to bring business as well.
And then if they do their own business, they keep their own money, or do they
No.
split up?
I split too.
It's all about Chris, okay.
It's all about Chris.
And I don't know if you do this too, Chris, but with Wayne on our team, we do it's almost identical. It's a 70-30 split, Wayne getting 30, Remax will be in there 4. So it ends up being 34 out, but at a cap, once we reach $100,000, then his split goes away. Once our commissions total reach, so once I've made $100,000, which this year I finally will cap, thank goodness. Woo. But so it'll probably go away after August or September, so. Then that gives you something as a buyer's agent to kind of strive for. Like, okay, if I can reach that threshold.
Well, see, one of the reasons why I don't cap my buyer's agents is because I'm the one who's paying for all the marketing. I'm paying for everything for Zillow. I'm paying for everything for Realtor.com and everything else. And so everything gets put into my name as far as, say if Gina does a listing, you just put in my name. So Realtor.com looks at the end of the year and says, okay, Chris, you've done X amount of listings, and I'm going, no, I didn't. Well, yeah, I did, because some of them were Gina's, but they went under in my name. So I'm the one who's paying for the marketing.
Okay,
I'm the one who pays for the signs. I pay for the lock boxes. So it's my expenses. So I'm going to take 35% of everything.
okay,
So if you're paying for the marketing side of it, you should get something out of every transaction, is my belief.
okay.
Any other questions?
Do your office fees change if you're doing team?
Mm-hmm.
And can you kind of go through what the basic structure of that's gonna be?
Good
Or,
question, Georgia.
right, I mean, because that's another fee that we have to look at.
You talking about for the office? It depends on the office. Like here, for example, it is $513 an agent for buyer's agent, plus $3,000 BSF. Okay,
Okay, sorry, 513, what's the 513?
buyer's agent fee. They don't split, yeah, per month,
$513 a month.
but there's no split. Yeah, and there's no split with the office.
And you pay that?
Huh?
You pay that for your buyer's agent, or they pay that?
They pay half.
They pay half.
Yeah, and it depends. Like Wayne pays half of his buyer's agent's fees.
See, but I guess we're not technically buyer's agents because the listings go in my name or.
Your
under-
team members.
Okay,
Yeah, your
okay.
quote unquote team members.
Gotcha.
And that's how some teams go. I've got buyer specialists and I've got listing specialists. Chris Spiker, for example, has 3 listing people that do their listings. I knew a Remax agent down in Katy that had 26 agents that worked for him at one time. And he had like 10 buyer's agents. He had 3 listing specialists. He had 2 transaction coordinators. I mean, he had a whole group.
So listings, if they had a listing specialist, would go in the listing specialist name, not in the
No,
team
it
name?
goes in the team name. Everything is team.
So are they also $513 a month if you had a listing
Mhm.
specialist?
Mhm.
Every person?
Because they don't have a cap, they just have the
They don't have a
base.
cap.
So if you came on, sorry, now I'm just asking on the alternative side, because all I know is a team. If I come on as an individual agent, is there a desk fee or whatever it's called? And
It's different.
it's different,
Yeah, it's higher.
it's higher, and then it's per, like if you make a certain amount, it goes away, or, okay.
Do you have like an itemized list? I mean,
Mhm.
they said there's gonna be like the Remax fee and all that.
Yeah.
Too.
I'll send you one.
Okay.
It's different.
Send me this presentation.
Prestige is different too. Yeah, I'll email it over to you.
Cool.
Baby
Very
outfits.
good.
That's one.
Okay.
I'll email it. I've got one for Prestige is different than Four Corners. So it's just, it depends on how you want to structure it. I mean, I can structure them different ways. One of the main things especially is money's money one way or another. And so if I can make it work for everybody, it's fine. So it doesn't have to be $513 a month, for example. I can make it work on a split type system.
And would you just have like a buyer's agent mirror you for a while so they kind of get used to what you do, or you just let them do it their way?
No, they have
Obviously,
systems.
Contracts you would want written your way.
Yeah.
Some agents just let them do their own thing, but that comes back to the control factor of you. How do you want them to represent your name? Because if they're working for you, you want them to show.
Or you gonna say
Well,
Dustin?
we've done it 2 different ways, and it depends on the experience of the agent.
Exactly.
Patsy, who had been an agent for a long time, and we've known her for a long time, we just brought her in, she just took off. Cindy and the other one we had before that, we brought them in as actually showing assistants. So they actually showed, and then they come in with us and we write the contract together until they get comfortable writing those contracts and negotiating. And then we bump them up, and their split is lower whenever they're a showing assistant, and then we bump them up to buyer's agent.
So fully licensed realtor,
Mhm.
title is showing assistant.
Mhm.
Do you go with them for the showings, or they just
No.
totally?
We will go with for the first couple if they're a brand new agent, but after that, all they're basically doing is taking the clients to the houses, telling them the specs for the house. The client says, okay, I'd like to make an offer. They come back to us and we write the offer with that showing assistant so they can learn.
There is a group down in San Antonio, it's called the Core. And the Core is basically a networking group. And one of the things that they highly recommend is that you do not hire a quote unquote buyer's agent first. You hire a showing agent and you pay them a salary. Someone who is a non-licensed realtor, you pay them a salary, and then you grow to a buyer's agent.
Can you touch on that a little bit more, like when they need a license? So
Mhm.
I'm remembering from class, it just, if you don't have a license, you can't negotiate or write a contract, but
And you
remind
can,
me what else they can do, because my
But they
buddy,
can-
2 weeks from now is coming on board. He has his license, it's gone inactive because we didn't pay for it to
Sure.
do whatever, so.
they can, yeah, he can, and a non-licensed person can open the door and he can give any factual statement regarding the property, like the property is 3,500 square feet, yada, yada, yada. But he cannot say anything as far as advice or his opinion or anything along those lines.
Okay.
So anything that's a factual statement regarding the property, they can state. That's it.
Is there any liability though, if they're on salary and like for safety issues of showing property, that kind
No.
of thing?
How do they legally show properties? With your super key? And do
Yes.
you have any trouble with CCAR doing that?
CCAR actually has the ability to put a showing person on there who's a non-licensed, non-MLS member to do keys, to give keys to.
So when you say salary, like my daughter, I could just pay her hourly or whatever to show, because
Correct.
that's mostly what I feel like I need is somebody to show houses. I could totally negotiate the contracts and
Hannah did that for a long time.
who kind of.
Hannah did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she paid somebody to really go open the doors, let them in, and that was it.
Because you're right, that's what takes our time is the buyers, especially if you have out-of-town buyers for 3 days.
Yeah, you have to be careful when you're doing that to make sure it's somebody who's comfortable with somebody who's in that scenario.
Right.
You know, I've got a showing person who opens doors, you know, and I'll be glad to do that for you. You know, some people want that realtor
Right,
touch.
right,
Somebody,
right.
so you have to be
Depends
careful
on the
with it too.
client.
Depends on the client.
We always just have a license.
Yeah, I'm always a lot more comfortable with licensed people.
Well, I would say some of the issues that could come up with that is, as a, realtor in the business for however many years you've been in, you become attuned to looking for certain things in a house when you're walking through with the buyer, such as, are there evidence of foundation issues or a water leak or, just things along that lines that your client
Right,
is kind of trusting you to
Right,
see.
right.
So I would have a hard time with that piece of it. But if they need to go do a walk through the contractor or go meet the inspector or, anytime your buyer needs into the house again after that contract, a showing person would be phenomenal for that.
I think that would be good too for new agents who aren't busy, that just,
Sure.
need a little bit extra money that have time.
Yeah. Make sure it's somebody that you're comfortable with, talk to them, and always kind of give them kind of a rundown on the client and say, this person's a little difficult. Yeah.
You probably see some of Angus's posts. I gave him one of my buyers. I helped them buy a house in Frisco last
Right.
year. They're older couple. And they want to look in Hunt County and it's like an hour and a half for me to get there. And so I'm like, hey, Angus, you guys are up in that neck of the woods. And he was like, oh yeah, we're working together. I just don't have,
Sure.
cannot drive 3 hours
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday to back and forth to show these
I don't
little
know.
people. Anyway, so,
Yeah, and that's where you kind of have to figure out your business and kind of where you want it to go. You know, if you want to go to the buyer's agent side and go that route with it, then, you know, you have to sit down and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I hire a buyer's agent. It took me forever to hire a buyer's agent.
yeah,
I mean, it really did, because I don't, you know, giving up the money side of it, giving up that 65%, when you go, you have something going on and then it falls out and you've already given them away, you're kind of going, oh man, you know, but, you know, you kind of go, okay, now I've got to do something else. You just kind of know that you've got time, that you're not out showing homes. You've got time to go prospect and generate more business. And that's really what you're trying to do, is get out of being out all the time to where you're actually now prospecting for more business. And that's what, you know, as realtors, what we're doing every day.
Yeah, the way we look at it is, when you're showing, when you're showing buyers, there's little or no possibility of getting leads. The listings equal leads.
Yeah.
So that's where we focus on, and we have a buyer's agent showing the stuff, you know, just to take them care of. It's basically menial work. It's just going and showing the right contract.
Well, the listings, you know, I've talked about this, especially when we talk, is that listings are really the gas for your business. I mean, it really is. If you're working, you can work with really 4 buyers at one time. You can work with 10 to 15 listings at one time. And that's just facts. Because once you get those listings in, they're doing their own thing, and now they've gone into a transaction phase. Once you get a contract and you negotiate it, now you're into the transaction phase. And still, how long is that going to take?
You have a transaction coordinator like us, and then it's even
Yeah.
less time on that.
Even less time on that side. And so really the listings, if you can generate, at one point I was running 24 listings with me and Amanda, 24 listings. That's a lot of listings. So, but a normal person, typically if I didn't have Amanda, I couldn't have done that.
right,
But typical 10 to 15, a single agent can run 10 to 15 listings. At that point, you better have a buyer's agent and a transaction coordinator in your pocket, because those leads, you just need to be fishing them out and generating your business off of it.
It's one other thing, always the law come in the middle of it. Like I see a lot of agents are presenting both sides.
Mhm.
When I became agent first in Oklahoma in 2005, I became agent there first and then later on here. Over there, there's a law in Oklahoma. If you're agent, sales associate, you cannot present both parties.
Mhm.
Here in Texas, what about in Texas?
You can. It's called an intermediary.
Yeah.
In an intermediary, you can represent both parties.
Mhm.
Both parties, if you represent the buyer, you have to get a buyer's representation agreement signed and the intermediary notice signed. And then once you do that, you basically tell both parties, look, there are certain items that I cannot discuss with you. And the same thing with him. I can't put either side at risk. I can't give any advice really on how to negotiate the contract as far as what to offer. All I do is, at this point, you really become a transaction person.
It says in some place in track that say the associate can present both, do the intermediary in one transaction. Or
It's in your IBS, in the informational brokerage services form.
first page.
Yeah, it's on that informational brokerage services form. If you represent the seller, the buyer, or intermediary. Same thing happens if, let's say Stephanie
Mhm.
has a seller, Jeanette has a buyer. We still now have an intermediary
Mhm.
because both of them are under my license.
Yeah.
So with that point, they still have to have an intermediary notice signed.
Or now with Remax Prestige as well.
Correct. Or Remax Prestige as well.
If they're under a different broker within the office, is it still?
Yeah, it's typically, I would recommend it, just to make sure.
I totally misunderstood that rule and thought it was like if you're Remax, it's all Remax.
No,
So
no, no.
I did that. Like,
No, but if
don't
you're
really
Eddie,
need this during
then it's
the-
all Eddie.
Yeah, if you're with Eddie, it's all Eddie. Yeah,
Okay.
Because they only have one broker.
until she dies.
I heard yesterday that.
She died yesterday?
No, 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 no. No, I was talking to every agent yesterday who was saying that there's several companies that are already in line to buy her out, because she's 104 or something. Yeah, like they're getting it lined up to take over. Yeah, so interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's had this set up for years.
I'm sure for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since she's like 103 now, I think.
Now 100, she'll be 104 this year.
Yeah.
So really, that tall person?
Yeah.
You could just,
She looks like $1 million. She's like this tall.
Yeah, she shrinks an inch a year.
She does.
All right, any other questions? I'm here all day. All right, thank you guys. If y'all have anything, I will send that stuff over to you. All right, and then I will send you, do you need
He
anything?
he gave it to me.
Okay,
maybe we
I'm
can.
sorry, I don't know your name, so I called you.
you need it too?
You're okay.
Good.
Yeah.
You guys didn't line up.
Okay,
Bye.
sounds good.